I'll start the chapter Legislature. The term legislature means a body which legislates. Legislate means to make laws, and legislation means laws and rules. In every democratic state, the legislature enjoys a very special place. It is the assembly of the elected representatives and represents public opinion and power of the people. In every society, we expect effective and efficient governance, and this role is performed by the government. No state is possible without a government. A government normally functions by dividing its powers between its organs. Each organ performs some specific functions. Legislature makes the laws, the executive enforces them, and the judiciary interprets laws and decides disputes. We need a legislature because it performs certain important functions. Let us discuss those functions. The first and foremost function of a legislature is to make laws. In ancient times, laws used to be either derived from customs or traditions or were issued by the kings. However, in the contemporary world, legislature is the chief source of the law. It is the legislature which transforms the demands of the people into laws. Secondly, legislature discusses matters of national importance. It deliberates upon the problems and needs of the people. And through this function, the legislature reflects the public opinion over various issues. Thirdly, the legislature controls the finances of the nation. No money can be raised or spent by the executive without the approval of the legislature. Not only the legislature passes the budget, but also it alone can approve the imposition or collection of any tax. In a parliamentary system of government, like the one we have in India, the executive for all its actions is collectively responsible before the legislature. The Prime Minister and all other ministers are essentially the members of the legislature, and they are bound by the rules and procedures of the parliament. In a presidential form of government, like the one we have in USA, the legislature exercises some checks over the executive. By the use of its power to legislate and pass the budget, the legislature exercises a fair amount of control over the executive. So, whether it is a parliamentary system or a presidential system, the legislature exercises a control over the executive. In almost every state, it is the legislature which has the power to amend the constitution. For this purpose, the legislature has the power to pass special laws called amendments. And amendments are made in accordance with the procedure laid down in the Constitution. A legislature also performs electoral functions. For example, the two houses of the Indian Parliament elect the Vice President, and all elected MPs and MLAs elect the President. In Switzerland, the federal legislature elects the members of the executive and the judiciary. The legislature is assigned to act as a court of impeachment, that is, as an investigating court for trying high public officials. For example, in India, the parliament can impeach the president. Besides representing every interest, the legislature acts as the national forum for expressing public opinions and public grievances. Parliamentary debates and discussions throw a light over various issues of public importance. Other than these, some legislatures are assigned specific executive tasks. For example, the US Senate has the power to confirm or reject the major appointments made by the US President. In India, the Rajya Sabha has been given the power to establish or eliminate any All India services. So, the legislative organs of the government play a very important and active role in the exercise of the sovereign power of the state. Sovereign means supreme. That is, in a democracy, the final authority and power lies with the people. And this sovereign power is exercised by the elected bodies. So, legislature is the chief source of law. A modern legislature is either bicameral or unicameral. Bicameralism means a legislature with two houses or chambers, while unicameralism means a legislature with a single house or chamber. A large number of modern legislatures, particularly of big states, are bicameral. India, United Kingdoms, USA, France, Russia, Australia have bicameral legislature. However, several states have unicameral legislatures such as Israel, China, New Zealand, Zimbabwe. A bicameral legislature consists of the upper house and the lower house. The lower house is generally directly elected, as in India, and it has a greater say in lawmaking. Upper houses are also directly elected in some countries, such as the Senate in United States. In Britain, members of the upper house, that is the House of Lords, are nominated. In India, the upper house, that is the Rajya Sabha, is indirectly elected. In India, the Union Parliament is bicameral, but all state legislatures are not bicameral. Only the states of Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, Karnataka, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh have two houses. Now let us discuss the reasons for preferring bicameralism. A single chamber with all the executive powers can become corrupt and despotic. The second chamber is needed for keeping it away from being dictatorial, authoritarian, and undemocratic. Moreover, a single house can commit the mistake of passing laws in a haste, and this can harm the national interest. The second house prevents or at least limits such chances. It exercises a checking influence on the bills that are passed by the first house. The legislative work is highly complex and technical. It demands a deep and careful examination of all aspects of the laws to be made. The second house performs the role of a reviser. It rechecks each clause of the laws to be made. A modern legislature has to pass a large number of laws, and under the circumstances, a legislature with a single chamber can fail to effectively pass all the legislative work. It may be overburdened. The second house is needed for sharing the legislative work. Two houses are also essential for giving representation to special interests. For instance, the lower chamber can consist of the elected representatives of the people as a whole, and the upper house can give representation to the minorities and other groups like labor, women, artists, intellectuals, businessmen, writers. A bicameral legislature is considered essential for a federal system also, meaning where we have two or more levels of government. In such a system, the lower house gives representation to the people of the state as a whole, and the upper house gives representation to the units of the federation. As in India, Rajya Sabha consists of members representing different states. However, the critics support unicameralism. They argue that organizing the second house is a big problem. The first house is directly elected by the people. However, there exists no agreement regarding the organization of the second chamber. Different ways have been adopted by different states, but the results have not been good. For example, the House of Lords, that is the upper house of the British Parliament, has hereditary and nominated character and is almost a useless house. The US Senate, that is the upper house of USA, because of its small size and long term, has become more powerful than the US House of Representatives. The Indian experiment strikes a balance. Rajya Sabha is neither as powerless as the British House of Lords nor as powerful as the US Senate, but then also has failed to produce the desired results. Secondly, in the prevailing system of lawmaking, a bill has to go through several stages. The system of lawmaking as it operates today eliminates the chances of hasty legislation by a single house. Hence, the second chamber is not needed. Moreover, the second chamber is always a source of unwanted delay. A bill has to be passed through several stages in both the houses, which causes unwanted delay. The second chamber is not in a position to check the despotism of the first house. For example, the Indian Rajya Sabha can only delay a money bill for 14 days. It almost has no say in financial matters. The existence of two chambers means more burden on the finances of the state. Now, after examining both sets of arguments, we can conclude that the national legislatures should be bicameral. The second house, as the representative of the federal units, serves as a source of strength for the betterment of a federal state. It makes it possible to have every decision reconsidered. It ensures a cross check on every important policy or will and it also goes from one house to other for revision. Now let us discuss the Indian legislature. Before independence, the Union Parliament was called the Central Legislature. Article 79 of the Indian Constitution provides for the Parliament consisting of the President and two houses known as the Council of States and the House of People. The President is not a member of the Parliament but is a part of Parliament. He is not a member of either houses and cannot cast his vote in either of the houses. The Parliament has two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, but both the houses do not enjoy equal powers. Lok Sabha has been given more powers. The President has the power to nominate members to Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The Indian Constitution is not based on the principle of separation of powers, so the Parliament also enjoys executive and judicial powers along with the legislative powers. Now let us discuss the powers of the Parliament. Union Parliament makes laws for the whole country. This power is exercised as per the constitutional provisions. It can legislate over the subjects of the Union list and along with the state legislature over the subjects of the concurrent list. It also has the power to legislate over the subjects which are not mentioned in the three lists, meaning it also enjoys residuary powers. The Parliament is the custodian of the national finances. The executive cannot put or collect tax or incur expenditure without the approval of the Parliament. The financial powers of the Parliament are really exercised by the Lok Sabha. In the parliamentary system, there is a close relationship between the Parliament and the Ministry. The Council of Ministers is directly responsible to the Parliament. The members of the Parliament can put questions to the ministers. The Union Parliament also enjoys the power to amend the Constitution in accordance with the provisions of Article 368. A bill for amending the Constitution can be introduced only in the Union Parliament and not the state legislatures. The elected members of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, along with the elected members of the state legislative assemblies, elect the President. Both the houses of the Parliament together elect the Vice President of India. The Parliament has the power to impeach the President in case it finds him guilty of the violation of the Constitution. The Vice President of India, the judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts, and several other high officials of the state can also be impeached by the Parliament in the similar way. Beside the powers just discussed, the Parliament also performs certain other important functions, like it can change the boundaries of the states. It can establish or abolish the second chamber, that is the Legislative Council in a state. Parliament can also provide for a common high court for two or more states. The Indian Parliament is a powerful legislative body. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Therefore, Parliament is not a sovereign parliament. It always acts within the scope of the powers and functions that the Constitution of India vests in it. Now I'll talk about both the houses, starting with Lok Sabha. When the Constitution was adopted in 1950, the membership of the Lok Sabha was fixed at 500. In 1956, the number was raised to 520. And again in 1963, the membership was raised to 525. By the 31st Amendment Act, the total membership of the Lok Sabha was fixed at 545. And out of these, 525 are to be elected from the states and 20 from union territories. Presently, Lok Sabha has a strength of 543 elected members plus 2 nominated Anglo-Indian members. 131 seats stand reserved for people belonging to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. The members of the Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people from single member constituencies. To contest the elections of the Lok Sabha, a person must be a citizen of India. He must not be less than 25 years of age. He must not hold any office of profit under the government of India or of the state. He should not be insane or bankrupt. He should not have been disqualified under any law of the parliament and must fulfill all criteria as prescribed by the law from time to time. The normal term of the Lok Sabha is 5 years. This term can be extended for 1 year during an emergency. But fresh elections to the Lok Sabha must be held within 6 months of the cancellation of the emergency. The President can dissolve the Lok Sabha before the expiry of its term on the advice of the Prime Minister. Let us now discuss the powers of the Lok Sabha. An ordinary bill can become law only after it has been passed by both the houses of the Parliament. It can be introduced either in the Lok Sabha or in the Rajya Sabha. Yet, almost 90% of the bills are introduced in the Lok Sabha. In case the Rajya Sabha rejects a bill, that is, it is not prepared to pass it, if such deadlock occurs, the President can call for a joint sitting of the two houses. The decision of the joint sitting is accepted by both the houses. In a joint sitting, the Lok Sabha dominates because of its large membership. Hence, Lok Sabha has a dominating position in the area of ordinary lawmaking. The executive, that is Council of Ministers, is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha for all its acts. The ministry remains in office so long as it enjoys the confidence of the majority in the Lok Sabha. The Prime Minister mostly belongs to Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha can remove the ministers from office by passing a no confidence vote against them. Lok Sabha has a superior position in financial matters. A money bill can be introduced only in the Lok Sabha. After being passed by the Lok Sabha, the money bill goes to Rajya Sabha. A money bill passed by the Lok Sabha can be delayed by the Rajya Sabha for a maximum period of 14 days. If the Rajya Sabha fails to pass a money bill within 14 days from the date of the submission of that money bill to the Rajya Sabha, it is deemed to have been passed by both the houses. Lok Sabha has the final control over matters relating to putting or abolition of taxes and control over the fiscal policies of the nation. Judicial impeachment proceedings can be taken up against the President, judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts in either of the two houses. They can be removed from office only by resolution adopted by the houses with 2/3 majority of their members. The elected members of Lok Sabha take part in the election of the President and Vice President. The members of the Lok Sabha also elect the Speaker and Deputy Speaker from amongst themselves. A constitution amendment bill can be introduced in either of the two houses. They can together amend all articles of the Constitution, with the exception of those which require special approval by one half of the several state legislatures. The Constitution of India empowers the President to declare 3 types of emergencies, that is, national emergency, constitutional emergency in a state, which is also known as President's Rule, and financial emergency. But each such declaration of emergency has to be approved by both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha within stipulated period. In case the Lok Sabha stands dissolved at the time of the declaration of emergency, it has to be approved by the Rajya Sabha. And when the new Lok Sabha gets constituted, the emergency proclamation has to be approved by it within 30 days. Otherwise, the declaration stands cancelled. Lok Sabha also performs several other functions like approval of the ordinance issued by the President, change of the boundaries of the state, creation of new states, and change in the name of the states. Lok Sabha, despite being the lower house of parliament, is a really powerful house. The Council of Ministers is is responsible to the Lok Sabha and not to the Rajya Sabha. Now let us discuss Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha can have maximum strength of 250 members, and out of these 238 are to be the representatives of state and union territories, and 12 are nominated by the President. Presently, only 4 members are elected from union territories, 3 from Delhi and 1 from Pondicherry. No seat is reserved for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Retired members of Rajya Sabha are eligible for re-election and renomination. The members are elected indirectly by the members of each state legislative assembly by a method of proportional representation, single transferable vote system. The qualifications required to be a member of Rajya Sabha are same as that of Lok Sabha except the age. A citizen of India has to be above the age of 30 years to be a member of Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is a quasi-permanent house. It is not subject to dissolution like the Lok Sabha. 1/3 of its members retire after every 2 years and elections are held for the vacant seats. The term of a member of Rajya Sabha is 6 years. The Vice President of India is the ex officio chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. He is not a member of the House, however, he presides over its meetings and conducts its proceedings. In the absence of the Vice President, the Deputy Chairperson of Rajya Sabha, who is elected by the members of Rajya Sabha from amongst themselves, presides over the meetings. Rajya Sabha enjoys equal powers with the Lok Sabha in the sphere of ordinary lawmaking. An ordinary bill can also be introduced in the Rajya Sabha. In the financial sphere, the position of Rajya Sabha is very weak as compared to the Lok Sabha. A money bill can be introduced only in the Lok Sabha. The Council of Ministers is collectively responsible before the Lok Sabha and not before the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha can, however, put questions to the ministers and criticize the policies adopted by them. Unlike Lok Sabha, it cannot pass motions of no confidence against the government. Some ministers may also be taken from Rajya Sabha. Now, the convention that the Prime Minister always belongs to the Lok Sabha has been broken. For example, Dr. Manmohan Singh was a member of Rajya Sabha when he served as Prime Minister of India. An amendment bill can be introduced in either of the two houses of the Parliament. If the Rajya Sabha first adopts it, then the bill goes to the Lok Sabha for approval. The elected members of the Rajya Sabha, along with the elected members of Lok Sabha and all state legislative assemblies, take part in the election of the President. The members of Rajya Sabha, along with the members of Lok Sabha, also take part in the elections of the Vice President. The members of Rajya Sabha also elect Deputy Chairman from amongst themselves. The nominated members are not entitled to vote in the election of the President, but in the election of the Vice President of India, they have a right to vote. Rajya Sabha, acting along with Lok Sabha, can impeach the President. However, charges against the Vice President can be put only in the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha enjoys certain special powers. The Rajya Sabha alone can pass a resolution by 2/3 majority of its members present and voting and declare a subject of the state list as a subject of national importance. Such a resolution empowers the Parliament to make laws on that subject for a period of 1 year. It also has the power to create or abolish an All India services. Rajya Sabha can create one or more new All India services also. We can say that Rajya Sabha is a weak chamber in comparison to Lok Sabha. However, it was made neither as powerless as the British House of Lords nor as powerful as the US Senate. Its position is somewhat midway between the two. Since its formation, the Rajya Sabha has been asserting its authority. When we analyze the constitutional provisions, we find that in several areas the Lok Sabha is more powerful, while in some areas the Rajya Sabha enjoys certain special powers. The relationship between these two houses of the Parliament can be analyzed under 3 broad heads: equal power of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, superior position of Lok Sabha over the Rajya Sabha, and special powers of the Rajya Sabha. They enjoy equal power in passing ordinary laws, making constitutional amendments, and equality in respect of impeachment and electoral powers. Superiority of Lok Sabha in financial matters related to control over the executive and introduction of important bills, which are mostly introduced by ministers and who are members of Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha enjoys special power regarding declaration of a state subject as a subject of national importance and creation and or abolition of new All India services. To conclude, we can say that Lok Sabha is more powerful than the Rajya Sabha, but at the same time, it would be wrong to assume that Rajya Sabha is a secondary chamber. Rajya Sabha enjoys a respectful place in the constitutional system and has the ability to exercise its assigned power in the most appropriate way. Parliament is the very center of any form of democracy. All over the world, Parliament exists to represent the people in order to ensure that the government is by the people.